Introduction. The warning that was not meant for the public late last week. While global attention remained fixed on frontline fighting in eastern Ukraine, a different kind of alarm was triggered, one that never appeared in headlines, press releases, or presidential speeches. Inside the Pentagon, analysts from U.S. European Command, EUCOM, the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, and NATO's Allied Command Operations issued what officials described as an urgent coordination alert to senior defense leaders across the alliance. The reason? Unusual Russian military activity that did not match battlefield requirements, but aligned closely with strategic pre-positioning for escalation. Within hours, NATO allies were briefed. Within days, Ukraine adjusted its military posture. And within minutes of that adjustment, Russian forces appeared to pause, suggesting Moscow knew its secrecy had failed. This is the story of what the Pentagon saw, why it mattered, and how intelligence, not firepower, became the first line of defense. Part I. What triggered the Pentagon warning? Not a troop surge, something more dangerous. Contrary to public assumptions, the Pentagon warning was not triggered by a mass troop buildup along the Ukrainian border. According to U.S. officials familiar with the assessment, the red flags came from pattern deviation, units moving without public mobilization orders, logistics, assets repositioned far beyond tactical necessity, command and control systems activated outside training cycles, nuclear-capable delivery. Units placed on elevated readiness without announcement. One senior defense official described it this way: this wasn't about numbers, it was about intent. The intelligence stack, the warning, was based on a multi-source intelligence convergence, including satellite imagery showing concealed movements near key transport corridors, signals intelligence, SIGINT, indicating encrypted command traffic spikes, cyber intelligence revealing Russian defense networks switching to wartime protocols, human intelligence suggesting internal Russian military concern over compressed timelines. Individually, none of these signals would have triggered an alert. Together, they formed what analysts call a pre-escalation signature. Part IT. Putin's shifting military posture from defensive to strategic positioning. Pentagon analysts noted a subtle but critical change. Russian forces were no longer positioning to hold territory. They were positioning to shape outcomes. This included relocation of air defense systems deeper into Russian territory, hardening of command bunkers and leadership nodes, fuel and ammunition stockpiling at non-frontline locations, increased activity at air bases linked to long-range strike platforms. In military terms, this suggested escalation insurance, preparing options without committing to them. Why this alarmed NATO planners are trained to look for doctrine alignment. Abelgan taught the movements observed matched Russian escalation doctrine taught at senior military academies, particularly the concept of strategic ambiguity through readiness. In plain terms, Russia appeared to be signaling capability without signaling intent, an extremely dangerous posture during an active war. Part Trey. The emergency NATO briefing. What allies were told. According to multiple Allied officials, the Pentagon's briefing included three key conclusions. Russia was testing alliance reaction speed. The activity reduced warning time for potential escalation. Ukraine was likely the immediate pressure point, but not the only one. Eastern NATO members quietly elevated readiness levels. Air policing missions increased. Easier flights intensified. Cyber defenses were reinforced. None of it was announced. Part IV. Ukraine's immediate response. Kiev was already watching. Crucially, Ukraine did not wait for the Pentagon warning. Ukrainian intelligence had already detected unusual Russian silence along certain sectors, often a precursor to either withdrawal or escalation. When U.S. intelligence confirmed Allied assessments, Kiev moved quickly. Tactical adjustments, not public mobilization. Ukraine's response was deliberately low visibility. Rapid redeployment of mobile air defense units, dispersal of ammunition depots, command decentralization to reduce vulnerability, increased drone and counter-battery surveillance. One Ukrainian defense official said the goal was not to react loudly, but to deny Russia the surprise it was preparing. Part V. Real-time intelligence coordination, the war inside the screens. What followed was an intense period of real-time intelligence fusion between U.S. European Command, NATO Allied Command, Ukrainian General Staff. This included near-continuous satellite coverage, shared threat modeling, predictive movement analysis. Officials say this level of integration would have been unthinkable before 2022. Now it is routine. Part 5, Putin's strategic dilemma: why escalation is harder than it looks from Moscow's perspective. Escalation carries risks. NATO intelligence dominance limits surprise. Ukraine's dispersed force structure reduces effectiveness. Domestic political pressure constrains overt mobilization, the Pentagon. Assessment concluded, Russia retains escalation capability, but its escalation freedom is shrinking. That is a dangerous position for any nuclear-armed power. Part VI, the geopolitical implications beyond Ukraine. U.S. officials stressed the warning was not Ukraine exclusive. The activity had implications for Black Sea security, NATO eastern flank deterrence, global nuclear signaling norms. China, U.S. analysts believe, is watching closely. So is Iran. Conclusion: a war decided before the first shot. The Pentagon warning was never meant to scare the public. It was meant to prevent a moment, a miscalculation, a window where escalation could occur before anyone could react. In that sense, the warning worked. Nothing happened. And in modern warfare, sometimes nothing happening is the most important outcome of all.